Hello, everyone. You're back with us at the St. Lucie County Public School Speakers Bureau. And we have a wonderful guest with us today. But before I introduce him to you, for those of you that don't know what the Speakers Bureau is all about, we are here to inspire, encourage, and motivate our students and our community. And so we have people come from out of the community to talk about their life story, talk about their challenges, talk about the people they admired most who made a difference in their lives, and talk about what it was like growing up as a child and coming into adulthood, why they changed their careers, and just what we want you to get out there is that we all go through different problems and challenges in life, and it's what you do with that that causes you to be able to either get stuck or move forward. So today we have Mr. Brian Garcia, and he is the CEO of his very own construction company called Remnant Constructions. And so we've asked him to come on and just share his life with us today. And so welcome, Brian, and thank you so much for taking out of your busy schedule.
Thank you. It's actually my pleasure to be here. I'm looking forward to it.
Great. So start out with telling us about just a general part of your life, your background. I know that you work in construction. Why did you choose that career, that type of thing, and what your company actually does?
Construction is probably one of those things that actually chose me, to be honest with you. It's something I was exposed to all the way back in middle school, believe it or not. And it actually started with my father, who was, he basically spent his life in corrections, working as a warden, so to speak. And then he had on the side this little thing that he did on the side where we would either install alarm systems or do light renovations. And so I got exposed to it through that, through what my dad was doing on his little side company way back in the day. And then when I got into middle school, I got exposed to woodshop. And really enjoyed the idea and the concept of working with wood, and wound up staying in those type of programs all the way through graduation. I actually come out of the trade programs down south. I'm a finished carpenter by trade. And just my fascination with the trade programs led me to make 2 inquiries after high school. One of them was I was actually thinking about going the route of my dad. I was thinking about going to the police academy and doing that thing. And then the other thing was I was thinking about taking construction more seriously. So in that process, somebody had approached me that knew me as a young man. We'll say he was kind of like a mentor, this guy named Bobby Campbell. And he actually approached me through a guy named Gary, who is my father-in-law today. I wound up marrying Gary's daughter. So they approached me and said, would you be interested in coming on board? And it was a large corporate America company. They were an international firm. And I went on board and started out in the trades as a laborer and worked my way up to carpenter, and from carpenter to carpenter foreman to assistant super and super. And in all that process, I had this great mentor there that just kept encouraging me. And then it came around to the topic of, well, why don't you do a little bit more of the vocational program? So I wound up going to night school at the local universities and state colleges, taking building construction and technologies, and that was more the vocational route. It wasn't a degree route, but I went the vocational route, and basically this became my vocation. And here I am. I started out in the trades in February of 1992, and here I am, 30 years later, and now a CEO of a small company. It's 5 years old. Basically 4 of us that worked in corporate America together decided that we wanted to become more localized, get more involved. So we started a smaller local company, and it's been very successful and very rewarding.
I find that so interesting what you just shared with us, because I know there are young people out there that may not go the route of college and they may, I met one young man going around to the schools, high schools, and I remember asking him, this is a couple of years ago, well, asking the class, what do you want to become? And different people are saying what they want to become, and then when it comes to his time, he says, I want to be a mechanic. And I was like, well, why do you want to be a mechanic? And he says, because I have an uncle who has his own business, who does cars, and I want to be like him, and I want to eventually have my own business. And so the vocational part of what public schools offer now is a thrill to me, because I remember coming in, and I think there was like 9 vocational programs. Today we have 56 vocational programs, and how important that is for the job market and for our own local area, much less as a country, to have people who are trained in these trades. So you said you had a mentor that helped propel you to the next level. So can you give us, for a kid that may be out there right now, say, I really want to go into construction, but how do I get started? And what do I need to do? Can you give us a quick background of what they would need to do?
Well, they'd have to decide if they want to go the construction management, if they want to be in the management aspect, the engineering aspect, or the architecture aspect first off.
Mm-hmm.
All 3 of those facets, they need attention. They really need young people that want to get involved, want to take on those type of careers. I think everyone's aware of that. I think that's why the vocational programs are growing exponentially. When you look at our field right now, you got the really old guys, you got a few guys my age, and then you got really young guys. There's these big gaps in there, and the reason those big gaps are there is, in my personal opinion, we became too college focused.
Mm-hmm.
And there are certain careers that you have to go to college for,
Mm-hmm.
but at the same time, there's certain careers that you can go to college and you can learn the basic concepts that you can learn from a book, but they require more hands-on
Mm-hmm.
training.
Mm-hmm. IRC offers quite a few of those type of courses, yes.
So we as a company have been very involved, and I've actually sat on the Skills Gap Workforce Solutions Advisory Board,
Okay.
the Vocational Advisory Board, really trying to increase not only the vocational programs here in St. Lucie County, but in the Treasure Coast,
Mm-hmm.
because there's a huge need for any young people, A, who want to work with their hands, or B, want to work in the details or the complexities of
Mm-hmm.
getting a job built. Because there are 2 sides of it. You got the side that is all the blueprints, the estimating.
What side did you go into?
I came in through the vocational. I started out with a hammer in my hands.
Mm-hmm.
And you can start that way, but you don't have to.
Okay.
Again, for people that like to be more hands-on oriented and actually like the instant gratification from completing something and seeing what you completed that day, that's what was really always drawing me in, was that instant gratification. I could see at the end of the day what I accomplished from the time I started to the time I finished. But not all personalities need that. Some personalities, they're okay with the gratification being 2 months out, and they're working towards a goal that hits 2 months out. Those are the guys that you see behind the scenes that are actually putting together all the rebar that goes in a wall panel, or all the rebar that actually goes in a floor slab. They're actually paying it. They're more detail-oriented folk who pay a lot more attention to the details of what's involved, so that they can put those details in my hand and I can go out and properly build it, if that makes sense.
It makes total
So
sense.
there's numerous ways to get in. You can go in through the trade programs, whether it be going through air conditioning, HVAC, carpentry, electrician, civil and site development. That's your operators that run the big equipment, the big track hose, the clear sites. Or you can go through one of the vocational programs, like you said, at Indian River State College or one of our other universities. What I like about St. Lucie Public Schools is they're getting kids to look at the vocational programs early on, grade school,
Yeah,
middle school,
yeah.
high school. And I think those programs, this industry is going to become an industry that nobody can afford if we don't get more people exposed to it and we don't do something about correcting the
Yes.
labor problems
Yes, and
and
making
getting more
sure
labor
people are
involved.
skilled
Right.
when they and ready for the workforce. And I like to say, even those that are thinking of college, you need to have some sort of skill. I mean, it would be good to have some sort of skill, because it can help you get through college. It can help pay for your college classes. I mean, you know, everybody's not going to go on a full scholarship or have parents that can afford to pay them through college, but they want to go. So to have our students workforce ready, or at least on an entry level, in some sort of skill vocation. It could be doing nails. I keep my nails up, you know. So I mean, you know, and people, what many don't understand is people can make a lot of money in these different vocational skills as well. It depends on what they do and their decisions of how they go about doing
Yeah,
it.
I would strongly encourage them not to let money be the focus.
That's true, but the young people want to make a little money now.
Right, money matters, and I think there is a difference between money and wealth. And I'm one of those guys that read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And if you've never read that, or a young person's never read that, I would strongly encourage them. Wealth is about pursuing that background or that thing that will provide your daily needs, but you're happy.
You have to be happy. Yeah.
Right,
Choose
and,
something
and there's
you
so
enjoy
many
doing.
people that choose a career path or chase a career path. Yeah, they're doing something, but they're doing something
not
they're
happy.
not happy in.
Right, right.
And yeah, you can make a lot of money, but what's the money
most
if you're not
important?
happy?
Yeah, you got to
Right.
be happy. And young people seem to understand that a little bit more now, where they want to get into something that they would enjoy doing, and they want to follow their passion and their dreams, and that's a good thing. Just have to, takes work.
Right.
So tell us about the work part of you know, you going through, even as a young person, I think you said, young person, I think I want to know about what type of work do you have to put in to become what you are today?
A lot of sacrifice. And I would say that sacrifice has to be when you start talking about growing a company and then getting that company to where we're at today, and then the fact that I'm sitting as an active CEO, I'm not even going to sit here and pretend that my family did not have to make a sacrifice along with me. I would not be where I was at if it wasn't for my family and my wife. That there were mutual sacrifices that had to be made. But what our inspiration was is I hit a point in my career where I could have just said, you know what, I'm happy with this. I'm happy with this income. But again, we're very community oriented. So then the conversation comes, do I just want to be happy, or do I want to continue to grow personally and grow to a point that I can actually have greater level of impact within the community? And that's what it really came down to. And I'm not beating up on corporate America, because there's lots of great companies out there. The company I came from was a great company. The company that the four of us came from was a good company. But if there's a certain amount of your local involvement can be greater when you're a localized, specific company within a community that is trying to impact that community. So I'm sharing that so that everybody understands. I guess it comes down to what your goals are and what your objectives are. Our goal and objective was to get somewhere where we weren't chasing the almighty dollar. What we were doing was chasing wealth, and it was wealth that we could share back into the community and actually change the stars of people within the community. When you're talking about young people, my wife and I have 4 adopted kids. We got to a place that we realized we couldn't adopt every kid. So then, again, our focus became, what can we do professionally, career-wise, that'll allow me to stay within the culture that I love so much working in, but at the same time have a greater impact and become more locally focused. And that's actually what brought us to St. Lucie County. You're talking about the work that you put in. So I came in the industry February of '92, and this is probably what young people really should think about, is this, to see how fast a young person, when I came in, I didn't have much competition. So I came in February of '92, I'm 22 years old. By the time I'm 30, I'm a project manager By the time I'm 35, I'm a regional manager. I'm running the north half of the state of Florida. Having that chance for growth and not even knowing that I was walking into an environment where there would be that opportunity for growth, but when there's not a lot of competition in the environment, somebody's got to move up.
Right.
So that's one of the things young people can look at when they're looking at whether they're going to go the college route or the vocational route. They probably should look at the career that they're tasking and not only saying, is it going to make me happy, but is it going to be available? How many other people are pursuing the same?
What's the opportunity?
Right.
They'll have
How much
here? Yeah.
opportunities are there? Is 40% of my graduating class? Because that's what happened my senior year. Right? Is I watched about 40% of my graduating class. The computer IT market was exploding, and everybody, I'm going to go do computers. And it seemed to get a lot of attention. But what's funny is how many of those guys that were part of my graduating class, some of them actually wound up in construction. Working construction, even though that they went and got some type of IT degree or something like that. So my advice to young people would be, find something that's going to make you happy. Weigh your competition going into that career field. And then once you make your decision, yeah, it's hard work. You got to put your head down. You got to put the hours in. And you always got to look at it that you're doing it for you, not somebody else. It's always got to be personal to you. The minute that it becomes a job that you're just doing for somebody else, it's probably not going to be too long before there's no passion in it, or you're not going to like what you're doing anymore.
Exactly. I've been doing what I've been doing for 35 plus years because of passion. Because it's in my heart to make a difference in someone else's life. And that's been my passion. So it happens to be children. So 35 plus years right on Avenue D, working with children after school. My husband and I, it's our passion. That's why we've hung in there, and we've become pillars in the community because we really love what we do. So as hard as we work, it's a joy. It's like you're working hard, but you're getting fulfilled. There's fulfillment out of your labor.
The other thing I have found for me personally is when you're doing something you're passionate about, yeah, you're working hard, but it doesn't seem like you're working as hard as you would be doing if you were doing something you didn't want to do.
Yeah, you have to be careful because you'll overdo it in that area, and then something else can suffer. So you have to be, when you have a passion to do something, you have to be careful to make sure you're considering your family, you're considering your children.
You can't sacrifice everything for...
Yes. So you mentioned you have 4 children?
Yep.
And give us a little background on your personal childhood life, and how did you end up getting, 4 adopted children. Talk to us about your personal...
Well, on the flip side of my life is there is a faith base that has followed me my entire life. We were very actively involved in the church. Our family was. I'm one of 7 kids. I was an altar boy basically till I was 16, 17 years old.
So this Catholic church?
Yep. Yeah, at the time. We're actually part of a non-denominational church now, but going back to the childhood, that was a heavy influence in my life. Just the foundational of the faith principles that were instilled in me in that process. So, again, one of 7 kids. Mom was a stay-at-home mom most of the time. She took on odd jobs when she could.
You're the youngest?
I'm the baby of the 7.
Okay,
Me and my twin brother are the baby of the 7s. We're fraternal. We don't look anything alike. So I had a mom who was pretty much constantly at home, always taking care of the kids. There's a great sacrifice for the family unit, which meant Dad. That's why Dad had the side company and would find other ways to make income. He was the primary breadwinner, and Mom was home raising 7 kids. So we became a very family-oriented family. I was raised with very family-oriented views. As I graduated high school and I started to explore my possibilities about what I wanted to do, is actually when I met my wife. Her father was one of these mentors. And that's how I met her. We wound up getting married. And then we'll just say somewhere in the process of all that, we discovered that we weren't going to be able to have kids the conventional way. that was me. It wasn't her. I don't hide it. It is what it is. So we decided to start exploring the adoption route. And exploring the adoption route was when we actually got very much open to youth ministries. I wound up becoming a youth pastor. And that kind of put the whole adoption thing kind of on a back burner.
'Cause you had plenty of kids.
We had plenty of kids.
Yeah.
I actually became the youth pastor over the entire diocese down in Palm Beach County. And you know, that took care of me and my wife until about 30. We were probably married 10 years, and yeah, we had all these kids, but we didn't have our kids. And then the adoption concept came up, and we wound up adopting 2 internationally, and we wound up adopting another 2 domestically. And then, which all 4 of them went to St. Lucie Public Schools. One of them still does. He's 16. The others are now graduated in 18, 19, and 19, I think.
Yeah, they keep growing.
Yeah, they do. They don't stop. So my life is it was a very humbling, but at the same time very simple life. There's not a whole lot of great stories to tell. My dad had great stories, and my mom had great stories. My great stories to tell is being the baby of 7 brothers, and anybody that has
7
older
brothers?
I'm sorry, 6 brothers.
Oh,
No,
that's-
5 brothers and 1 sister. There's only 7 kids.
Oh, yeah. But
I'm the
still.
baby of 5 brothers and 1 sister, and if you've
Where's
had,
the sister in the middle of all the brothers? Where did she? What's her?
you
birth
got the first
position?
4 boys, then you have the sister Karen, and then you have the 2 twins on the end.
Okay.
And if you have brothers and sisters, you could imagine what it's like growing up in a household with that many siblings. They did as much raising me as my mother did. I see a lot of their personality and characteristic traits shine through me today. What's amazing is, and this shows how hard Mom and Dad worked. We've all turned out to be successful, every one of us. But we're still a very tight, extremely tight-knit family.
That's great.
We still get together several times a year, even now that Mom and Dad are gone. And it's been a blessing-filled life when it comes to talking about my childhood.
Family is so
raised in the
important.
public school system. I actually think that's where our focus should be. I'm not trying to beat up on the private or the charter schools, but the majority of our kids do attend public education. And that's our future leaders of tomorrow. And as we look around and we see the things that we're not completely satisfied in our culture today, we probably should remember those are our future leaders of tomorrow. If you want
They
tomorrow
should-
to be
they-
better, then put more energy on the future leaders of tomorrow.
Just talking with someone this morning about, you know, we talk about, oh, kids don't do this now these days, and kids that, you know, negative talk about kids. Well, who's the teachers?
We are.
Right.
The
and,
community.
And the community, the
culture.
parents, the community. I mean, I had someone on here that he actually went to Lincoln Park, Francis K. Sweet. I guess he must be in his 70s, almost close to his 80s, that was here earlier recording with me. And it's like, what are we doing? You know, he was able to tell the story of how the community all worked together. The community. And if you got it down the street from your neighbor, and then your parent or your teacher or your, you know, everybody stuck together with raising children, and it made better kids.
Well,
you know?
absolutely. I mean, being a parent of 4 and having 3 that have graduated now and have started to tiptoe into the world, I can tell you firsthand that you can invest the hours, and I believe that that's the #1 thing that kids want from you when you're raising them is your time.
Yes.
That's the greatest commodity that you're ever going to have. We're all born with it. We can all decide how we're going to sell it or give it away or what we're going to do with it, but that's the commodity that we're born with. And I was one of those parents that invested a lot of time, but as they come into adulthood, you do see as a parent those things that they learn from your culture and society. And yeah, there are things
Makes
they're going
a
to learn
difference.
from our culture and society that they're not, whether you as a parent want them to learn it or not, they're going to learn it. So our culture and society does play a big role. It plays a big role in our futures. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I've got so many questions, and we only have 3 more minutes.
Oh,
So
go ahead.
one of the questions I wanted to ask is, what do you remember a teacher in your school that made the most impact on you, or teachers? Is there anybody that really stands out?
My
in your
second
mind?
grade teacher, Mrs. Boast.
Second grade, everyone.
Second grade, and I remember to this day. I was a hard-headed kid, and I'm still hard-headed. I've got a very strong type A personality, and she took a personal interest in me because she liked working with those type of kids.
Okay.
And I'll give you an example. She used to say hard heads make soft hips, and when she said soft hips, she was talking about getting a paddling.
Soft behinds is
yeah.
how we used to hear it all the time.
But I can remember principles she taught me in the second grade year, because it's very easy for me to want to dominate a situation, or if things start to go a little sideways, meaning it's very easy for me to want to fix it or to step in and dominate and want to fix it. And she got me to realize that that sometimes you got to slow it down. That's what she said, slow it down, and you got to let your head clear. Otherwise, you're going to get them soft hips through life. You're just going to wind up taking a beating. And
Beatings that you don't have to take.
that was the
Yeah,
trick.
that's the
Beatings
thing.
you do not have to take. Challenges you don't have to take on. You can just avoid them. You don't have to take on everything that comes your way.
I got a big question for you. If you were president of the United States today, what would be the first thing you would focus on?
Oh, our public education. It'll become the most highly funded thing we have in this country. We need to take better care of our teachers, our schools,
Yeah.
the individuals that have made the choice to make it their careers in life, to educate our children. And I think somewhere, and this isn't a recent problem, our focus on that is a generational issue as I see it. And
we
it's
want to pay them the least amount for all their frontline soldiers in the classroom, educating. If it wasn't for them, we all be sitting under trees.
Well, when I'm
barbaric
80
type
years
thing.
old, I'm going to be relying on their politics and their decisions, and they're going to affect me. And
Yeah.
the better leaders that we raise up, the better leaders that we educate, the better off we're going to be in the future, and that's just a reality.
Exactly.
But if I was president of the United States, I would get everyone to get their primary focus on the education of our children, just meeting our kids' needs. There's so many kids out there every day that
And they're going to be adults. That's what we don't understand.
right.
I mean,
But
we've been
when-
doing our work for 35 plus years. We have adults in their 40s, almost hitting 50, some of them. I mean, that tells my age a little bit, but, you know, and many of them have come back and are actually doing things to help,
right.
you know, because of what we did in their lives. But I mean, we have some stories that we could tell you that, oh my God, if we had not sacrificed what we sacrificed to help somebody else's child.
No, exactly.
yeah.
And then, you know, we live in a society where today most parents have to work to make ends meet, which means they rely more heavily on educators. And we need to get that balance back. There is a complete unbalance in our culture of how we're raising, educating our kids. And I'll give you an example of what I mean by that.
Well, we ran out of time.
I was going to bring up the fact that they all don't even know where their next meal's coming from.
Yeah.
We got kids that don't even know they're going to
Oh
get
my
3 meals
gosh.
every day.
We could share stories, I'm sure, with you working with the youth and
Yeah.
me working with the youth, outrageous stories that are behind closed doors. Oh, we got to go.
Yep.
We got to go.
We're
But
good.
don't get up yet.
Oh,
Just
sorry.
thank you so much for coming, and,
Thank you.
and we'll have to talk some more. But this was just an opening of such wisdom that you shared today, and I thank you for spending the time with the Speakers Bureau and the community today to impart those things that you've learned.
Oh, it's
Thank
my pleasure.
you so much.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
take care.
Yep.